Well, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, it doesn't work without you guys. So let's get open for business here. And let's wake up the football gods. Wake up, guys. Wake up. Wake up. There we go. How's everybody doing on this Taco Tuesday? I'm feeling great. I woke up on this side of the dirt, so that's always a good thing. And I'm going to be on the road today. Um, I finally had to get another truck. Big Red has been walking wounded for quite a while, and she's been actually down for the count for about 2 months now. But fortunately for coronavirus, I've been kind of making do going with the wife's car, doing a little this, that, and the other. But now as we begin to start opening things up again, I either had to spend a whole bunch of money on Big Red, which I've been doing on a regular basis, or look at getting another vehicle. So I went ahead and I got another truck, and I've got to go down the country today. So we're going to try and break her in today and see how she really rolls. So you'll get me remotely. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm always in touch with you guys. In fact, you probably say I'm in touch a little too damn much. At least that's what some people would say. So the NFL is working on a plan on what exactly they're doing as far as getting opening and so forth um, as we speak. What they're looking at basically is around the middle of July, instead of having OTAs and mini camps and everything else, is basically opening training camps earlier. So say around 15th of July, a little over a month from now, just bring in everybody and you just start working out longer. As opposed to, well, it's usually around the 20th, to say the 28th, depending on your team. And if you have new coaches or if you're playing a Hall of Fame game, that's when teams would normally start. And normally you have your, mini camp, your OTA workouts and things, which you haven't been able to do, only virtual reality ones. But what they're also or they're discussing right now as well, is having certain players and veterans allowed to come back to facilities before the 26th of the month. If you've changed teams or have had injuries, so you can be evaluated, so they can make sure that you're getting your legs up underneath of you, so that way you will be ready when the middle of July comes in for training camps to go through. I mean, this is literally uncharted territory, so they're literally making it up as it goes on. Um, we still don't know what's going to be going on with coronavirus. We do know that, like Arizona has had a big uptick um, in coronavirus cases since Memorial Weekend. Other locations, same thing. Alabama. When you look at Montgomery, Alabama, and places like that have been kind of hit real hard lately, and other places have upticks, and we don't know if we're going to see a major uptick in about another week or two because of the protests. Hopefully we won't, but you don't know. So I think a lot of what happens in the next 2 weeks are really going to determine how things are viewed and worked on going forward. NCAA is working on shortening the season, so the season will be over by Thanksgiving, um, and so forth. So they're trying to come up with a plan, one way or the other, that we have football, and I still believe that we will have football. And if we have football, what I've been doing over the course of the last 2 days is trying to look at the offense and the defense and figure out what is the area that we should have the biggest improvement versus what is the biggest area that we should have concern with, or the worst area. Do we get better or worse in a position? And I've already done the offense, so we got that out of the way. And the defense, okay. The defense, we've had a lot of change. We know that, we lost Byron Jones, of course. We lost Jeff Heath. We lost Malik Collins. And we lost Robert Quinn. So we lost some guys that played valuable time. I mean, all these guys were starters on our defense. You could look at Robert Quinn, who had 11 sacks in 14 games, being, one of the standouts on our defense. So now you start looking and saying, okay, where is the spot that we're going to have the biggest improvement? And you could look and say, well, maybe D-Law will go more than the 5.5 sacks he had this year because he's able to actually work out the season. He's not coming back at the end of training camp where it was in doubt if he was going to be able to play the first games or two with the projections that they had for the shoulder surgery. And I think that hampered him. You could say that maybe he goes from 5.5 sacks and gets back up to over double digits. You could look and say, well, you got Ha Clinton Dix over Jeff Heath. Okay. You could say maybe Diggs ends up being a guy that gets 2 or 3 interceptions in place of Byron Jones. But for me, actually, where I think we're going to have the biggest improvement, and you could even say, well, maybe Alden Smith, who was one of the top rookies first 2 years of his career, was an absolute beast, and maybe he's still got quite a bit left. That now he's got a man body, and he's got a little bit more weight, but looks like he's actually in better shape. But 4 years of rust, I don't think that's going to happen, and I think that's going to be outside rusher by committee, because I think you'll end up seeing Randy Gregory rotating in there along with Alden Smith and maybe even Tyrone Crawford. But for me, I think the biggest improvement will be actually the interior linemen. Malik Collins wasn't bad. Antoine Woods wasn't bad, but they weren't really standout guys that really could go ahead and handle business and really put pressure up the middle. For me, I always believe in the same way that we learned after we got Tyrone Smith and Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, how important the offensive line is at sustaining that offense. We used to always believe that, oh, it's the receivers, it's the running back, it's the quarterback. But if you don't have that offensive line, you'll have some success, but you won't really be able to take another step without that offensive line. And as they say, for every action, there's a reaction, okay? So if you understand that an offensive line makes the difference on your team, you got to understand then the same is true for a defensive line. You need a defensive line that can counteract those offensive lines. And if you look at some of the losses we've had over the last 2 years, it's been a problem being able to stop the run. And especially for our Dallas Cowboys defense, we gave up on every time they ran the ball over the center. Every time we averaged giving up 4.6 yards every single time. That was the weakest link in our defense. Right over the center. I have been screaming forever and a day about defensive linemen. The Cowboys, for whatever reason, have never believed in a one-technique guy. And most of their defensive linemen, they've looked at more of as like a tweener. By that I mean between really a defensive end, defensive lineman's body type, okay? Tyrone Crawford is a perfect example. He plays tackle, he plays defensive end. He's tall, you get these guys that are like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" sometimes. They're about 280 pounds. They have a lot of length to them. They're quick. And the way Rod Marinelli's defense is we're just going to run past you. We're going to do X stunts, okay? So the tackle's going to go, outside. The end's going to go inside, and we're going to use speed and confusion to beat you. And that works a lot to some point. But the problem is when you start catching guys in stunts, you end up giving up sometimes big plays. And sometimes you just have offenses that just say, we're just going to put a hat on a hat. And we're going to take our bigger offensive linemen that got 30, 40, 50 pounds on you. And we're just going to pound and go straight ahead at you. And if you don't have the beef, guys that can drop in anger, they can run on you all day. And it doesn't matter then who you have as a defensive backfield. If you do not have a guy or a push in the middle of the field, you can have great edge rushers, which is something the Cowboys have actually had quite a bit of. You could look at D-Law and Robert Quinn. That's actually a really good combination. They get upfield. But if you don't have that push in the middle, that quarterback can just step up. Those guys get run past. And he's got a clear view of the field where he can take off or he can find somebody open. And he's comfortable. When you look at the Super Bowls that Tom Brady lost between the Giants and the Eagles, the thing that he can't stand is pressure in his face. That guy pushing in front of me, you know that those guys are on the outside. All of a sudden, you feel like you're in the trash compactor, and the walls are closing in on you. You got to get rid of that ball, or you need to get out of here. And we haven't had that in a long time. And that's where you go ahead and you bring in a Dontari Poe, a veteran that's got to push. You also have a Gerald McCoy, another veteran who right now is like on a mission because he's excited about the fact that he's going to be playing in prime time, something he never got the opportunity to do at Tampa. He has slimmed down, he has beefed up the muscle frame, and he is ready to rock and roll. And then you get this brother, Gilmore, the Canadian bulldozer. Now, he's going to be a rookie, but you look at his size, his strength, and his ability, what he did in college. The guy can be a beast. And if you can get him to be more of like a Warren Sapp type, I was hoping last year that Tristan Hill was going to come in and be able to make a push and make a little bit of a name for himself, but that didn't pan out the way you wanted it to. Hopefully, Gallimore will be able to do that. Gallimore is going to be a beast. So the area for me where I think we're going to have the biggest improvement, and we must have, will be the interior defensive line. So tomorrow, we'll talk about the weakest link on the defense. I'm Mark Holmes, and I got to go get the truck ready to go because I got to hit the road again. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank everybody for being in the live stream last night. We're having a ball, and be safe out there. All right? I'll see you soon.